Hey, college students. The future of our democracy urgently depends on us. You can help on-air student leaders curate trusted information on governance and elections and provide an online town square where we can all talk with politicians and each other to find common ground on issues and legislation on us.onair.cc. Our sponsors tonight are Democracy on Air, a nonpartisan nonprofit that supports the U.S. On Air network of 50 governance and election hubs, and GMU Students on Air, which oversees the GMU On Air chapter and the U.S. On Air network.
Hello, my name is Ben Murphy, and today we will be conducting our kind of concluding fall 2022 Aircast, and I'm joined by the different interns from the 2022 fall semester. So I think to start, we can go one by one. Introduce yourselves and give kind of what your position was or what you did over the course of the semester. So we can start with Sam. How about you? Mm. Great. Well, thank you. So we'll get a bit into kind of some of the stuff you said in a little bit, I think. But next, Frida.
Hello, my name is Frida Cervantes, and I was the social media manager for internship here. And then I also was the host for some of our aircasts as well as our learnabouts. I narrated those, and sometimes with the help of the other interns, I curated some of the information and just made those videos. And then with some of the candidates or incumbents, I interviewed them, which was pretty fun. So that was basically the gist of it. But it was a very collaborative team effort, which was pretty fun.
Okay, great. Thank you. Gabe, on to you.
Yeah, I'm Gabriel Yu. I'm a global affairs major at GMU. By title, I was both the team leader for Virginia on Air as well as the chief technologist, which was a role created specifically for me because I helped a lot with the technical side of our aircasting, which is one of our main projects or activities. I think that was really cool learning how to use OBS, which is a program we use to help stream to YouTube. Also, it was helpful in creating like videos. And also what Sam talked about, how he learned a lot about different politicians. I think I really enjoyed that, like helping research for learnabouts. Like I think I know so much more about like especially Virginia politicians, having them obviously talk to us in the aircast as well as just writing about them. I think it definitely helped me understand the midterms a lot more. I was like actually invested in some of other races, which I wouldn't have been invested in before. So I think I would say I'm thankful for that for US on Air.
Yeah, I mean, before we head to Devin, I will say I think we had some pretty interesting conversations with politicians, actually. Some of them better than others. But all right, Devin, you're next.
I'm Devin Pieczynski. I am also a global affairs major at George Mason. My title was chief of staff, so I worked under Ben. A lot of the communication between all the interns, wherever they were, whether they were in Virginia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, or Florida, went through me. I also helped with outreach along with my colleagues, putting meetings together, and I participated in Aircast. So I did a little bit of everything, but I think everybody did.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. So I think to begin here, we'll go in the same order. So this will start with Sam. And I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, Sam, but uh, give me your thoughts on things that you liked or that you particularly didn't like over the course of the internship. And I know you kind of already talked about this, but if you just want to repeat that, and then the other ones can say what they think. Great, thank you. Frida?
So, throughout the course of this internship, I really enjoyed getting to know the members of Democracy on Air. I thought that was pretty fun, and I feel like I've kind of gained some skills with like hosting or kind of, I guess, public speaking, not necessarily so public though. That was pretty fun, and just kind of like networking, trying to like be more open and try to engage with people. I thought that was pretty fun, and just having the opportunity to be part of a discussion that I wouldn't think that I'd be able to be part of, like just talking to candidates, just really interesting conversations and stuff that's important to students. One of the things I didn't like, I think, would be, and this isn't really from the internship itself, but just kind of the roadblocks. And by that I mean, like, we have all these proposals or ideas, but we can't really execute it the way that we want if we don't have the availability to, like, I guess, interview said politician or something. But of course, that's not really a reflection of the internship itself or the organization, but rather just the other, I guess, the other side, like the other party. Maybe if we had more of a presence like out there, maybe that wouldn't be such a problem. But again, I don't really think that's a specific reflection of the organization. That's just one of the, I guess, like one of the dislikes of it, because we have all these great ideas, but when we know how to execute it, but we just can't without the other side.
Yeah, that can definitely be an ongoing struggle. All right, Gabe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think not too different from Frida. What I really like is how diverse our activities are, like the variety of things we do for our mission, which is to promote democracy, especially for college students. I think like especially I really like being on like college campuses and like being like interacting with like an academic environment, and I think students generally are quite apathetic. So I think having candidates speak to us, which I thought like I will definitely like I can easily say some of the most famous people. Oh, famous. I don't know if that's a stretch, but I guess like Don Byers very well known. I think talking to these people, not face to face, unfortunately, but um being actually interact with them, like ask them questions. Like one of our first ever Aircast we participated in, like I asked Don Byer a question which meant a lot to me, and I thought that was like something I did not expect to do like at the this soon. I also really yeah, there was like I like the blend of having like the more administrative side of like I know I was sending out a lot of emails inviting candidates and other guests to speak with us, but also the research side, which is what I enjoyed the most. I think researching learn about uh it's really valuable knowledge. But I would say at the same time, kind of like what Frida talked about, I think uh I think we do so much to the point where you could argue we do maybe too much. So I think we are not as productive as we could be, like as efficient with our projects and so forth. But it comes from a place of trying to do good. Maybe the execution isn't always 100% like on the target, but that's my take on it.
Maybe instead of famous is the word, maybe you mean influential.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
publicized, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Devin.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things about the internship was being able to collaborate with like-minded people who share all the same interests as me. I don't really get to do that a lot. Not a lot of people are as into politics or democracy as I am. And also, it made me step out of my comfort zone. I normally don't really like to be, out talking to people or participating in like the like aircasts that we did. But I actually quite enjoyed that a lot. And then one of the things that was kind of frustrating for me is was having to try to talk to apathetic college students who, to me, it's just frustrating being a global affairs major and somebody who's very interested in politics. When I go talk to other people who are similar in my age, and they just have absolutely no interest in what's going on in the country or around the world, which is what our main goal is to spread the word about democracy, what's going on in your country. And so I just find that to be quite frustrating.
I think it's particularly frustrating when you're trying to engage maybe specific political clubs on a campus and nothing results from that. That's not great. But okay,
Right.
thank you for all your perspectives. Now this question, I'm curious, but I'm sure that you guys, to some capacity, have spoken with your peers about what their internships are like or the ones that they've had in the past or are currently in. And so what are your thoughts, if you have heard about other people's intern experience compared to your own? Do you think it's more difficult, less difficult, more time consumption, less? Just your overall kind of thoughts on that. So Sam, maybe starting with you. Pretty much, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you've ever spoken with any of your peers before about like their experiences in internships or whatever, I guess my question maybe would be like, did this internship kind of was it what you expected or was it kind of different than what you'd heard from other people who had participated in ones before? Yeah, great, thank you. Frida?
Um, well, specifically with like the global politics fellowship, I think there were some of my peers who would have a lot of work. It was just kind of busy work, so just kind of tedious stuff. Like they had to transcribe some interviews, and that seems kind of like a lengthy process. And sometimes having going to, like having to go to events that were not already set and scheduled before, so it was just kind of like impromptu things like that. So I think those are some challenges that they kind of struggled with, or so it seemed. I think like with our internship, we were very hands-on. We did a lot of stuff like every day or every day that we had the internship. I know some of my other peers, they had kind of a relaxed internship experience too. So um I don't know. I think like with an internship, it's just kind of like a lot of busy work that you kind of learn and you kind of learn time management through it. Um, but with the GPF itself, like it's supposed to be an intense semester with a very immersive internship and like the classes themselves too. So that's just part of the program experience, I think. So I can't really complain, if anything. Also with my job, it's just like a lot of time management that I feel like I keep mastering. So it's like a pretty good feel moment. Pretty good feel moment. Yeah.
Definitely, nice job. Gabe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I know a whole lot about my fellows' internship experience, but what I can gather is that they definitely feel like they have a more traditional sort of office. Like I know some of them go to a physical office. Others are also like us, like work from home or like online. So I definitely think we have a very unusual work environment, and like style, which I think does definitely like I would say suits me, especially at as a college student. I think on a full-time basis is probably not is it doesn't really matter. But I definitely feel like Frida said that it seems like a lot of them do more stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's very meaningful. Not to like put them down or anything, but it definitely feels and also it seems like the ones who work for like like specifically for a government official or like a something to do with the government like or like a court office versus people who were private sector like us and some other people that are like a diplomat society. I think that was what Frida was talking about. I think there's a little bit more I think our experience, people who were in the private sector, it felt more tailored to us, more flexible, uh, more. It was more like something we actually can like influence from the internship position perspective, like how we can influence our own experience. Whereas I think people like someone who works for like a senator, they don't really have that much input on what they can do. They kind of do a lot of paperwork. That was obviously that's an impression. I don't know exactly. I know I was a little jealous when I know some people who work for Tim Kaine, they went to the Silver Line opening a few weeks ago, and I was like, man, I wish I was there. But other than that, I think I like how not untraditional this is. Our experience was.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Devin?
Yeah, I think Gabe put it really well. We had a lot of influence on what our experience was like here. It wasn't the traditional go to the office 9 to 5 every day, which I happen to really like that I didn't have to do that. I really like the flexibility. It works well with who I am as a person and the way that I operate. So I thought that was really, really good. Um, yeah. The other thing that I wanted to say was, like Frida said, I think a lot of my peers, from what I know, they had to do a lot of busy work, a lot of really mundane tasks that I didn't feel like I had to do really at all at any times. Which is another good thing, knowing that the work that you are doing is it's going to do something for the organization, going to make an impact probably very quickly, especially with us doing a lot of experimental work. We were able to figure out what things work and what things didn't work very quickly. So I really like that.
I guess before we continue, I just two things I want to say. One is I absolutely despise busy work. And I think it also is pretty difficult to even exist in like a growing organization because there's just not room really for that, right? Like everything that you do is essential to some capacity, but like even if I just hate it, it's just so pointless. I would never want to subject anybody to that. But the second thing that I want to mention is that that's definitely something that's super important here is like pretty much any individual within the organization's input. I mean, that's certainly been my experience, and I tried to make that very clear at the beginning of this internship to you guys, as I wanted to make have you know that like your input is useful and can be listened to. And I think like obviously it takes time for that to like set in, right? You have to see that it's actually true. But that's definitely something that is super important. So just quickly here, then there'll be two more questions. This one is, you guys have kind of gone over this already, but I'm curious, do you think that pretty much we started mostly digital. Now, Sam, you're in North Carolina, so this is almost going to be difficult to be applicable to you, but regardless. And then we were doing some stuff in person. So I guess my question is, do you think like we should do more stuff in person, less stuff in person, and like do you think that in person is even particularly valuable? Sam? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Frida?
Um, so I really enjoyed the flexibility with the online stuff that we were doing. I mean, we had the Zoom meeting, so it didn't feel like it was completely like kind of work from home. You know, we did have like that digital online presence. And it's also just, I don't know, I think for me myself, it's like, I guess sometimes I feel more comfortable just behind a screen. But when we were just kind of in the more recent weeks when we were like on campus and stuff, I think the idea of, or not the idea, the experience of like getting kind of like rejected because of college student apathy with what we do and in our mission statement and like our organization's values, it's kind of hard. I mean, I know there's ways that we can approach it to kind of just be able to engage with people, but it was just kind of hard. Especially because I don't know, as a server, like I do talk to people a lot and sometimes I'm more comfortable then, but then this is something that like I also have like personal interest in and like values, but then my peers like or you know, they just don't really share the same things. It's just kind of hard to like how to do it. I would love to kind of be able to but because I do think it's very important. I do think that we need obviously like an online presence, but I do think that a lot of networking stems from like real life interactions, and a lot of it is just going to have to be like rejection and stuff, which is just part of the process, but we do definitely need to learn how to be able to network in person and have like these in person um engagements and activities, and like whether it be the kiosk or trying to interview questions, like it has to happen. It's just kind of hard in the way that we're like realistically, you know, like I think we just can't have those really high expectations with it, or we
Yeah.
just start small, you know, like little baby steps, but it is equally if not more important.
Okay, thank you. Gabe?
And yeah, I'm at a bit of a crossroads when it comes to like how to balance like our presence like online versus physical. I think as the semesters progressed, I would say my idea of how US on air could work, I think has slightly evolved into where I think uh now we should probably embrace our online presence and really expand on that and work on that. So like I thought having uh upvote the woman from Upvote Virginia, I thought she was a great guest. I think we should like create a lot of content like that, having people talk to her or like, people like her like come as a guest, and like we can create like a YouTube video because I'm a big consumer of YouTube, a lot of YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of inspiration I like to take from them, and I'm glad that we have such a multifaceted like presence, I would say, or like arsenal of like outreach and influence. And like YouTube is one of the big ones, and I would love for us to like embrace that. But also at the same time, our mission is to promote democracy. There's still a human aspect to it. There's a face-to-face aspect to it. We're also, for now, focused on college students. We are based on college campuses. We have like we have feet, like we have boots on the ground, sort of. So I think definitely as we expand, we could definitely compartmentalize like designate people who are good at certain things and people who love to grow an online network, for example, have them do their thing, and have people who are very good at like going around campus talking to people, especially because for me I don't reside on campus. I'm pretty sure I live the furthest away from our campus out of people who worked here, so it was always very tiring endeavor trying to drive back and forth. And also I don't mind like like I thought like meeting some people on campus was like a very insightful, but at the same time I would say I prefer working online. So it definitely like have specific people, um kind of like let them do what suits them best, like their strengths, so forth, but also kind of balance that with the overall mission, how to like best achieve, how to like which way to expand, online or physical. So that's my take.
Okay, thank you. Devin?
Yeah, Gabe actually stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say playing to people's strengths, whether they like going out and interacting with people in person, or whether they prefer to have an online presence. Like someone like me I think I have a balance of both. I like to be able to work online, but I also especially like having a team meeting. I would like to have like a team meeting in person every once in a while. I think it helps to grow bonds and connect closer with the people, especially that you're supposed to be working with day in and day out. Yeah, so I just think it's a matter of playing to people's strengths, what they prefer, getting to know them, understanding how they work best, and how they're most efficient.
Okay, great. Well, to conclude here, we'll just go quickly if you guys have any closing thoughts. So, Sam? Great, thank you. Frida?
I'd like to echo that. I just want to thank you and Scott and any of the directing team for allowing me to be a part of this. It was very insightful. And then I'm excited for next semester. I'm not gonna be able to allocate as much time as this semester, but I'm so excited to be part of it.
Great, thank you. Gabe?
I think this is like Sam. I definitely want to keep an eye on how the organization, like the direction it takes. No matter how I will be involved, like if I'm completely uninvolved or involved in a minor capacity, I'll always keep an eye because I think I've invested a lot of like thought and like time into like how this could work. But it's definitely a very novel idea. The concept of this whole organization, I think it was very well suited for like the 21st century. It's really interesting. So that's my take.
Great. And Devin?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect coming into this internship, but I actually think that I found a diamond in the rough, especially compared to some of the internships that some of my classmates have from GPF. Especially who I am as a person, what my interests are, really lined up with me being able to be flexible and work with like-minded people in politics and talking to representatives in Congress. Yeah, and I want to thank you and the whole directing team and Scott for allowing me to be a part of this. It was a really great experience.
Definitely. And yeah, I just want to say that I think you guys all did a pretty good job over the course of the semester. I think we all have contributed beneficially towards kind of the main goal of our organization, and kind of as you've all said, it's really about taking the, kind of baby steps to acquiring the actual, completion of the goal. But I think we've made some good steps this semester, and that was definitely all thanks to each of your involvements. So with that, I'd like to conclude our final Aircast for fall 2020. And just once again, thank you all for participating.